football, the one, the only, from The Athletic, our good friend, Matthew Barrows. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you? You ever been to the White House?
I have been to the White House, yes. Thank you.
Did you do so you did the tour and all that?
Yeah. I grew up in the D.C. area, and our next-door neighbor was a Secret Service agent, and he was able to give us sort of a private tour of the White House one day, which was really cool. I mean, I was, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years old, so I don't quite remember it, but I do remember, going on the lower level there. That's the public level, and getting a tour of the White House. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Well, then I'll before we move on to important Niners stuff, then I'll ask you. I'm taking the wife and kids there in a couple of weeks, so we're gonna do, we're gonna do a tour of the Capitol, and we're gonna do the Korean War Memorial, which I remember was insane. It at night is just something. We're going to do, we're going to do a bunch of stuff, but is there something that you think generally people don't do when they go to DC that they should do? Because they've never been.
I'm going to reinforce I'm surprised you said the Korean War Memorial, because the Vietnam War Memorial, all the other memorials get more attention, but you're right. The Korean War Memorial, to me, was the special one of that group. And I remember when it went up, I guess in the late 80s or early 1990s. It's really terrific. That's good. The Vietnam War Memorial is unique as well. So, I mean, you can't go wrong just kind of going through the mall and going to each of those.
My dad and my wife's father both served in Vietnam. And look, I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm being disrespectful of freaking Vietnam War Memorial. It's incredibly moving. The thing about the Korean Memorial that first off, it's right by the Lincoln Memorial. You can walk right down there, but at night they have the statues that glow that are lit up, and it is one of the eeriest, coolest. I don't even know I don't know if I want to describe a war memorial as cool. I know I'm kind of fumbling right now, but it was a very memorable experience. So thank you, Matt. Jason, ask a football question.
As we're talking to Matt Barrows, Matt's brought to you by Stockton Honda, Northern California's #1 Honda dealer. So the crew is out there. You're heading out there today, correct, Matt?
I am. My flight keeps getting pushed back hour by hour. So this wicked storm that's come through really wreaked havoc on people's flights yesterday, and it's still having ramifications today. But yeah, I should get there in the afternoon and be on hand for the big media blitz at Allegiant Stadium. I think the 49ers get in around 7 p.m., and then it's 2 hours of that, and then we'll write that up.
Yeah, what's your memory for you as someone that, there's plenty of content to cover? Is Super Bowl week as chaotic for you as it appears that it should be?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you feel this obligation to really just have Super Bowl caliber stories. And so you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to deliver really unique content. And, of course, we at The Athletic are always kind of looking at the numbers, how many views did we get, how many subs did we get. And it's just so saturated with media there. And there's so many stories. Everybody's saving their best stuff for this week that you really don't get read a lot, or at least not to the amount that you're hoping for that week. So to me, it's always been a lot of work and a lot of kind of disappointment that stories just aren't landing like you want them to. But I think that I'm going in with that understanding, that knowledge this time. So I think I've prepared myself for some disappointment this week.
Does it help you as a reporter down there because you're the beat writer for one of the participants? They know you, they're familiar with you, you have relationships. I know that a lot of the interaction is, a madhouse at the podium, but do you find that maybe you get a little bit of an edge rather than if you were down there covering the Giants and the Chiefs?
Yeah, for sure. And, the media night tonight is the big chaotic function. The media sessions that'll be on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, especially the Wednesday and the Thursday ones, will be much more standardized. And the beauty of that is that everybody will be there, including assistant coaches. During the season, you have to make special requests to interview, say, a Chris Kasurik or a Johnny Holland, and whether they want to do the story or not, this, that, and the other. It takes some pulling of teeth to get them. Super Bowl week, they have to be there, and they have to be there for an hour and 15 minutes. So it's wonderful that it's like shooting fish in a barrel. For a reporter, merely getting the guy in front of you is, the hardest part of the week. Hey, I need to talk to this guy. Is that possible? No, we can't do it this week. How about next week? It's a big negotiation. Super Bowl week, everybody is there. So, the stories on the assistant coaches, Brian Gleesy, I'm hoping to get him this week, are available to you, whereas it's a lot harder during the regular season.
Talk with Matt Barrows here. Matt, a lot of time, we know that games take on their own entity, but leading in, you've got to have some angles, some beliefs, some things that you think might happen that people are talking about. Obviously, there's revenge for the 49ers. This is a rematch. The Chiefs going for back-to-back. The Purdy storyline's pretty compelling. What are you kind of going into the game thinking you might be covering versus you just don't know how the game will actually go?
Yeah, I mean, after watching the Chiefs-Ravens game and seeing, Kelsey and Mahomes hook up 11 times on 11 targets. Every time that Mahomes threw to Kelsey, it was a completion, and at one point it was a touchdown. So that's in the back of my mind. This is the 49ers team that didn't do very well against Sam Laporta in the championship game. How are they going to kind of change that and shut down this Mahomes-Kelsey connection? I think that's going to be a huge one. Purdy is always the biggest story of a 49ers game. I don't anticipate him getting rattled. I mean, he just has such a belief in himself. I think that stems from his very strong faith. But that'll be a story one way or another. I mean, here he is, 24 years old. He's going to be the third youngest starting quarterback in a Super Bowl. Win, lose, or draw, he's going to be a big story coming out of this game.
And Matt, I came into the show today, Jason will tell you, and I kind of got some cold sweats over the weekend because we're all talking about, like, how are the Niners going to stop Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce? And I get it, but are we kind of, this is a question I asked Jason, like, are we missing the main line here, which is how are the Niners going to score on this KC defense that, throw out the Rams game and they're about even, but technically allowed less points than the Niners. And then, limited Baltimore or whatever it was, 10 points, got the win over Buffalo in Buffalo. It was Miami. I think they limited to 10 points, actually. Like, they've been playing lights out. So we're talking about Mahomes and Kelsey, but shouldn't we also be talking a lot about what Brock Purdy and friends are going to do against that Chiefs D?
Yeah, no, for sure. And, we talk a lot about the 49ers defense and how it's taken them, a full game to warm up and all the issues in the first half that they had against the Packers and Lions. The 49ers offense wasn't exactly rolling at the start of those games either. And they certainly can't have this kind of staggered beginning against the Chiefs that they had against the last two teams. So, yeah, I agree that that's a huge storyline. I mean, and it's counter to what they did during the regular season. I mean, for a while there, they had a string of games where they usually scored a touchdown on their first drive, and if it wasn't a touchdown, it was a field goal. I mean, that was their calling card during the regular season. It's odd. I mean, I still haven't figured it out why the 49ers, who got up for for the week 1 game against Pittsburgh, for the week 5 game against the Cowboys, for their after bye game against what at the time was a very good Jaguars team, for the week 13 game against Philadelphia. These were big games on the schedule, and they got up for each of them, and they blew those teams out. But after that Philadelphia game, it's been a different story. They have not kind of been able to kind of summon that sharpness that they had in those games. They lost to the Ravens in the Christmas night game. They sort of beat the Cardinals and Washington and some other bad teams down the stretch. And, of course, they had sort of a disjointed games against the Lions and the Packers. I think that if they play like they did against Philadelphia, if they come in with a mission, remember all those guys wore black going into that game. I mean, they geared up for the Eagles. I just haven't felt that vibe from them in the playoffs to this point. And if you can't summon it now, then it's gone. I mean, it's impossible to summon. And I know they're trying, but it has just been elusive to them to this point.
Matt, I don't think anybody was super concerned about this, but I guess maybe late last week, over the weekend, there was, I don't know if he's officially on an injury report, but was Kittle was the only one that was there was some concern about. What's the status with Kittle as they get ready for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't see him at all during on the field last week. He did come in for a press conference and was not limping or anything like that. And you know, if the guy's coming in for the press conference, it certainly seems as if he's gearing up to play in the game. So I expect him to be on the field on Wednesday when the practices begin in earnest this week. But it's something to look for. And Eric Armstead also was the same way. He was listed with that same foot/knee that he was listed with throughout most of December when he missed all those games. I think he missed 5 games total. So obviously, the team is largely healthy, but still has end of season issues with those two guys being at the top of the heap.
Matt, I asked Greg Papa this on Friday. I'll ask you, and Greg kind of struggled with it a little bit, understandably so. There's no wrong answer, but is there anything that pops out at you about the Chiefs, either offensively or defensively, that the Niners might have an easier time with than they did with the Detroit Lions?
An easier time with than they had versus the Detroit Lions.
Is there something Detroit did well or does well that maybe the Chiefs don't do as well that pops out to you on the surface?
Well, I mean, stopping the run, the 49ers struggled, against the Packers and especially against the Lions. The Lions, that was their calling card, sort of a powerful running game, good offensive line. I don't think that the Chiefs are quite as good. Now, they have been running the ball well in the playoffs, and that's sort of the point I was trying to make. They keep running into these teams who are on a roll. That's why they're still here in the playoffs, whereas the 49ers, I don't feel like have kind of hit their full potential at this point. But, yeah, I mean, you'll see the Chiefs bring in 2, a lot of times 3 tight ends, and so it looks like a power running game, but I'm not sure that is their mentality as much as it was the Lions mentality. And it was a mentality that, frankly, the 49ers had a hard time sort of keeping pace with early in that game. So I don't think it's going to be easy to stop the Chiefs' running game, but it'll be different than the Lions.
Matt, what do you think there's a tangible value in being there a few years ago for the 49ers to understand just the whole premise of this week, of really the last 2 weeks of what Super Bowl Sunday is like? A lot of the key players have played in it. Obviously, the Chiefs are right back there. What kind of value do you think that is for those Niners that have been there before?
Oh, I think it's a huge value, and they talked about it last week. Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and guys that played in the game. I know that they're only a handful, but these are the team leaders and the guys who are talking to the rest of the 49ers this week. And Bosa's point and Warner's point was that you just have to go 100% all out from start to finish in this game. And Bosa's point was that he felt like the 49ers did that for 3.5 quarters. Very proud of the way that he and his teammates played in that game. But the takeaway was that, you can't let your foot off the gas pedal at all. And the 49ers did that, and they saw the Chiefs score 21 straight points, and we know the final outcome. It's funny, just given that message and the fact that the 49ers haven't done that to this point against the Packers and the Lions. That's the missing element. This idea, and it seems so simple when you say it, that you have to be hustling. Your effort has to be unbelievable throughout the whole game. But the 49ers, despite the importance of these last two games, haven't been able to achieve that yet. So that to me is the huge question. It's the overarching question. Can they sort of rediscover their December 3 Philadelphia spirit ahead of this game? And if they can't, I don't think they're going to win it.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic joining us. I find that fascinating, Matt, what you're saying. And you alluded to that earlier in our interview. So we've got kind of a couple options here, like what you saw versus Green Bay a bit. And then what you really saw against the Lions was the Niners putting themselves in a hole. And the thought, I like where you're going, is, well, they just don't have it on for those four quarters. Not that they were, not as good or outplayed or out-schemed or out-talented, that it's within the Niners' control. And I guess we'll know on Sunday, because I think we both agree that crap ain't going to work against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, as far as, most likely making a comeback like that. But if you can't get up and play for all four quarters against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, especially when you have, 8 players, I think, that played time in their last matchup, then you're not going to be able to get up for anything.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just not available to you for one reason or another. Maybe it's the bye week, all the weeks that they had off, and it's so hard to what I call kind of get the lawnmower started again after it's been in the garage for a while. Or maybe it's just it's that point in the season. You reach down and you found nothing. It's just not there. But I think it has been there for certain players. I mean, I haven't seen any laps with Nick Bosa. I haven't seen any laps with Christian McCaffrey. He's looked fantastic. So there are players on that team that the rest of these guys can take their cue from, and they should. They need to, because I do believe that if they're playing, at a Cowboys level, if they're playing at an Eagles game level, they're going to win this game. I mean, there's too much talent. Plus that, I'm struggling to find the right word, but it's similar to effort. It's just a kind of galvanization where the energy, the atmosphere, the vibe is so keyed up throughout the game. If they can pair that, which they have this season, with all their talent, I think they're going to win.
I want to ask you too about, we're going to obviously see what the players do, but a lot about coaching, and it's the entirety of the coaching. But Shanahan and Reid will get the headlines there. Reid's done it. He goes into another stratosphere if he gets another Super Bowl title. And of course, Matt, Shanahan's chasing that elusive one. A lot of people think he's the game's best game caller. He's got a good record going, but this is what's missing. I'm fascinated by that part of this, and just maybe even Kyle's approach to, obviously he wants to win, but how much does he need to win just for his own mind and kind of his own resume?
I mean, you have this whole league is being filled with Shanahan proteges, not just the coaches, but a lot of their ex-GMs, Rand Carthon, Adam Peters now in Washington. They're all building mini 49ers all around the league, and so it seems that it's poetic that sort of the father of all this. Well, I guess he's he's the son of the father.
Right.
Gets a Super Bowl title at some point. Is it imperative that he does? I mean, I think you just noted, Andy Reid was Kyle Shanahan, several years ago. The uber talented offensive coordinator, had a lot of respect as a head coach, but hadn't won a Super Bowl title until late in his career. So, and you just noted that if Reid wins, he's going to reach another stratosphere of just elite coaches. Kyle Shanahan's still a young man. He's got, if he wants to, 20 years left of coaching. So there's going to be opportunities for him to reach that same stratosphere. It doesn't have to be on Sunday, but boy, it would certainly go away as a storyline if he did.
Let's talk about the other coaching matchup, and it's a battle of Steves, Wilkes and Spagnuolo, and those defenses. And we were talking earlier, Matt. I told Jason it wouldn't surprise me if there was a good, long, hard look at Steve Wilkes after the season. It just seems like it's been up and down. They moved him down to the sideline. Now, look, points against the big stat when it comes to defenses, they've been pretty damn good. But that stop against the run, and it just seems like overall that, I don't know, it feels like they have so many names on this team. They should almost be better defensively. Maybe I'm wrong. How do you see that matchup going?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It seems like the potential of that unit is not matching what we're seeing on the field. And what we've been talking about, the 49ers not quite reaching the level that they know that they can play. It's really been about the defense to this point.
Yeah.
And everybody saw those plays against the Lions where you got three defensive linemen sort of just kind of loafing down the line of scrimmage, each of whom has a chance to stop Jahmyr Gibbs, and they all sort of pull up and think that the other guy's going to make it. And it's just so counter to what their ethos is, especially on the defensive line.
Especially when you have wide receivers running 30 yards down the field blocking for their guys. You mentioned ethos, Matt. You're so right. It goes against the ethos of the whole damn team.
The whole damn team, but that D line is, you should be there for the practices. I mean, you got Chris Kasarik and Daryl Tapp, the two defensive line coaches, and they're just screaming all day long at these guys to hustle, to blow off the line. They have this deep defensive line with the idea that we want you going, what, to the wall all the time. And if you're tired, you just tap your helmet. We got another guy who's really talented who's just dying to come in. And that just has been missing in this game until, the second half. I mean, and that's not, exactly a Steve Wilkes issue. To point at Chris Kasarik and say, these are your guys. Why aren't they kind of playing with that reckless abandon? But you're right. But going back to, coaching in the booth and that 3-game skid, it's been up and down with that unit. And they do play brilliantly at times, but there are other times where it just seems like they're running at 3/4 speed. And for a unit that's this talented, you got Pro Bowlers on all three levels. They should be doing better, and they can do better. And maybe we'll see that on Sunday. But boy, they just haven't shown that for almost a couple of months now.
Well, and last question, Matt, to your point. Do you think or know that maybe some of that has been addressed since the Lions game, specifically turning, let me do this right here, maybe encouraging Lollygag Young to become Chase Young again, if you get my drift?
That's brilliant. Yeah, I think we're going to see some of those jerseys at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday. It absolutely has been addressed. Addressed to the point where even the GM was talking about it. And Steve Wilkes called it. I think the quote was, "Frankly, it was embarrassing."
Yeah.
I mean, they see it again. It's right there in front of everyone. You can't avoid it.
Yeah.
But they just can't. They haven't been able to fix it to this point,
sure.
and that's the worry. If you weren't able to kind of summon it for the entirety of the NFC Championship game,
right?
Are you going to be able to do it for the Super Bowl? I don't know the answer. To me, it's fascinating whether they can.
I say, like in the World Series of Poker, whatever everybody's Super Bowl share would be, you put it in cash and you put it in their locker room with a little key and a lock on it, and you only get the key if you let them visualize, Matt, the cash they're going to get and the ring, and then send them out there.
Yeah, I think the cash that they would get, I forget what the percentage was, but it's something like almost like 40% of what Brock Purdy is making this season. So he's got he particularly has a lot on the line, but each of these guys does as well.
We will be in touch with Matt throughout the week. He leaves today for the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium, and looking forward to I'm not looking forward to a good game. I take that back. I'm looking forward to an absolute boring 55-10, Niner Bronco style blowout. Of course, the Niners doing the blowout.
Yeah.
Okay, just to be clear, Matt, and I hope that you have 95% of your game story done by halftime. That's what I hope for.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you for wishing that. I hope you wish it into existence.
That's Matt Barrows of The Athletic. Take care. Have a safe flight, brother.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
He would sign up for that. I think a lot of Niner fans would.
Yes.
Let's go. Just have feet up in the fourth quarter. Sam Darnold's in.
Yes. I don't want a good game.
That's fine.
I want a boring, lame blowout. I want it so. All I know is this. I need the Niners to be ahead by at least 30 going into the fourth, because if it's like, I mean, come on, Kyle blew a 25-point lead, right? You know what I'm saying? 28. Come on, 28-3 Falcons over the Patriots. You think every Niner fan's not going to be thinking that? Oh my God, could you imagine if we were up 28-3 at one point? I'd be probably more stressed out than we were up 24-20.
Tom Brady's not walking through. Oh, it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But to his point about Chase Young, I know we got to go on break, but dude, you can't take plays off.
Not at all. Nope.
Whatever it is.
Ever,
I don't know if it's cardio. I don't
yeah.
know if he needs to drink Starbucks more, but you have to have consistent energy throughout all four quarters. And if you can't get it mentally, then maybe you can get it from my friends at American Energy, who right now have a furnace tune-up and safety inspection going.